This podcast is not brought to you by the Kashi Go line of cereal products. I just think they're fucking delicious, so I'm going to talk about them. First, you got the original Kashi Go, 12 grams of protein. And listen, this is how you know a cereal's legit. When one of the ingredients in the description is twigs, that's some natural, good for you ass shit. Okay? Let's keep going down the line. After the original came out, the world fucking blew up. The internet exploded. Then you got Kashi Defy. Kashi Go Defy. It's like, go defy somebody. Crunch. Kashi, damn, these names are long. That's why I love it. It's like an anime name. It's like, is it wrong to wear my underwear inside out on a Friday during Hanukkah? Kashi Go Defy Crunch. Okay? It's probably got a hint of cinnamon, like all things that are amazing. It's only 9 grams of protein, so maybe you don't want to fuck with it unless you're like a baby, but it's probably delicious. Then you got Kashi Go Crisp. 14 grams of protein. 14. Okay? You'd have to eat like 17 bowls of Wheaties to get anywhere near that. It's delicious. Kashi Go Crisp Cinnamon. And then you got this mouthful, Kashi Go Crunch Honey Almond Flax. And the only thing that's important about that is flax. Okay? Kashi Go Crisp Toasted Berry Crumble. I've never had it. I don't need to have it. I've never had a crumble that I didn't like. Okay? Moving on. Maple brown sugar flake and clusters. Let me say it again. Maple brown sugar flake and clusters. Shut the fuck up and eat it, okay? And now the last, the Coupe de Gracie. Kashi Go Peanut Butter Crunch. A balanced, perfect, beautiful 10 grams of protein in this beautiful cereal. Remember old Peanut Butter Crunch? Of course you don't, because you're like 20 years old. The new Peanut Butter Crunch sucks. What are we going to do? In comes Kashi Go Crush Peanut Butter Crunch. Saves the day. It's light, it's airy, but has a strong peanut butter flavor. And it'll punch you in your face in a good way, in the best way possible. So go to your store, get the fucking Kashi Go cereal, and go defy yourself. Welcome to the Broke Otaku podcast. I'm your host, AJ. With me is Marcus.
Yo.
And Alan. Hey, there, you. We're starting this day of podcasting off with a little game I like to call Super Fight. Punch, punch, hoo-ah, kick.
You might have heard of it.
Shop.
It's from Milton Bradley.
The makers of Parker Brothers.
Anyway, would you like to explain the game for those who haven't played it?
I would love to.
This is a slightly augmented version, so don't forget to say that too.
Because drawing cards is not good for radio. Basically, we have a list of characters that are mostly anime related, and we have a list of attributes that are mostly anime related. And we're going to randomly pick a character and an attribute for each contestant. One of us will be the judge, 2 contestants. The contestants will talk about their randomly selected character and attribute, and then the judge will pick which one was the winner. And that's pretty much
But we'll
it.
explain why they would win in a fight.
Exactly. Yes, that's the key that I left out. You have to explain why character 1 would beat character 2, even with the attributes that they would pick. So, yes. Let's go ahead and start, I think
it's better demonstrated than explained.
Well, you just...
All right, so I'm first, right?
Yes.
That's what Marcus said.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You're
All
first, then AJ, then me.
I, the judge of all reality
and superficiality, declare this fight to you, Marcus and AJ. Marcus, you are an Eva with one leg. AJ, you are a Titan with one arm. Round 1. It's the only round. Fight!
All right, so I'm contestant number 1, so I'm going to go first. The Eva would win with just one leg because guess what? Evas are mechs and we have weapons, we have guns. So I don't even need to stand up. I could just be prone on my belly and like shoot you from a billion yards away because my gun is as big as a building. And like Titans can't really F with that. Also, I got super impeccable aim, so I can get the nape of your neck. I'll shoot the nape of your neck through the front of your neck. So it don't even matter. I'll be swallowing bullets for a week until you're dead. You can't beat that. That's my argument.
All right. What say you, AJ?
Well, I mean, a Titan is a little more versatile because it's got 2 legs for one.
No, you have one leg.
I thought
No,
the
you have
Eva
one
had
arm.
one
No,
leg.
You
the
have
Titan
one
has
arm.
one arm, right?
Yeah, you said the Titan had one arm.
Yeah, you have one arm, so why are you talking about legs?
Because I have 2 legs and he has one.
What?
So I'm instantly more mobile than this freaking Eva.
Okay, let me,
You forgot your own.
when I said one leg, I meant no arms and one leg. And when I said one arm, I meant no legs and one.
We didn't know
Okay,
that.
Yeah, you totally did not say that.
I was like, why are you talking about shooting guns? You don't have arms.
Okay, this is off to
Yeah.
a horrible start. That it is not implied that if you have one leg that you don't have arms.
You're right, but in my mind it was. I was like, we're talking about extremities, right? We're talking about limbs. So you only have one limb.
No,
Yeah,
dude.
no.
The default is you have 2 arms and 2 legs. So you have to let us know
Something's wrong,
if that's
man.
not
Like,
what we're working with.
Our communication is just shit tonight.
All right.
Yeah.
Your made up scenario sucks. Pick one from the list.
Start
and then
over.
use
No,
that.
do it
Yes.
again. Now, my scenario is gold. I just didn't explain it right.
All right, fine. Jesus
You
Christ.
have one
my God.
leg and no arms, Marcus.
All right, so I've just one leg. All right.
Just one leg. That makes it a little harder. How you gonna
Okay,
nape his neck
it does.
with one leg?
All right. Well, Ava still got one leg. That means I can stand, which means I have the high ground. And we all know that, just as Obi-Wan said, if you had the high ground, game over. You know what I'm saying? You got
Yeah, that
arms.
was a great line.
You got arms. You can't do that. Like, I'll just jump and then stomp you.
There's a character in Gravity Falls who's literally a head and an arm, and he eats people. So he can move around by moving his arm and pulling himself, and then once he gets his hand on you, he takes your whatever to his mouth and bites you, and you die. And that's pretty much all I need to do. And having the high ground with no actual ability to attack means nothing because you don't have teeth or a mouth. And I assume that I do because Alan didn't say that I didn't. So maybe I'm literally just an arm, in which case.
Hold on, I just remembered you guys. None of you
Oh
guys.
my
No,
God.
you know,
Kidding.
no.
I'm joking. Fuck.
So, all right. So in conclusion, arm, hand, mouth, death. In that
Okay.
order.
Okay.
All right, Marcus, give me a 4-word summary like he did.
A 4-word summary.
Yeah, he had arm, hand, mouth, death, or something.
High ground, jump, stomp.
Ooh, 3 words.
Well, high ground is
He's got you on efficiency. I guess
I mean,
high
high
ground.
High
is
ground,
a-
I was counting as 2 words.
High ground is a diphthong.
No, it's not. It would be a compound word at best.
I know.
hyphenated. You're a diphthong.
All right. I'm gonna go with AJ on this one because I just like the image of a Titan eating an Eva
That's bullshit.
with
Whatever.
its arm teeth, its toothy arm.
I have an image if you want to see it.
Did you draw it?
No,
Then I don't want to see it.
Okay. So we're going to kick it off by talking about the highs and lows of 2019, and I'm going to start by talking about one of the highs. And there's quite a few. Mob Psycho season 2, obviously a good one, right?
Agreed.
I concur.
Endgame, Avengers Endgame,
Yes, loved it.
It's up there.
Demon Slayer,
Very, very good. The best, the goodest shit of all the good shits.
I haven't seen all of Demon Slayer yet, so we can't go into great detail. But
We'll have an episode where we talk about.
Nah,
how
well,
great
yeah,
it
we're
is.
just glossing. Plenty of these are whole discussion worthy, but
correct.
yes. But why don't
get to
we
that later.
let's touch on what I'm gonna touch on what I liked about Demon Slayer so far.
Okay.
The animation,
yes.
the animation's amazing. The art style's amazing.
Yes.
The main character is likable.
Yes.
Like through all he just everything he does is like, yeah, this dude's a good character. Like he's just enjoyable to watch how he thinks things through. And the monster designs are awesome,
Yeah.
and the fight scenes are awesome. Pretty much everything that makes an anime great is in Demon Slayer. So
the monster design in particular is pretty amazing.
Yeah, they do some pretty creative things with it. That was one of the things that I noticed first that really made me pay attention as I was watching it.
right,
Was just the
And not-
different powers they have.
the powers, yeah, especially. Not even like the character designs are good, but the way they use their powers is just it's awesome. It's a great show.
Yeah, and I mean, most of the time, not always, but most of the time, the character designs actually are a part of their power. Like the dude with the tatami drums, I think they're not called that. I forget what the drums are called, but they're basically like built into him, like his chest and his arms and his legs.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Friggin' taps the drums and then it changes the layout of the castle that he's in. It's just dope. And then they have that iconic, just utterly Japanese sound to them, like that, like pook little sound. Pook. Ah, so great. One of my favorite demons in that show was how far are you? So I don't ruin anything.
It's okay. Well, maybe it's not okay because we got people who are listening who may not have seen it.
Yeah, well, everything. Hey, like
I mean,
everything
you
we're
can
talking
talk
about, possible spoilers. So
You can talk about a demon without giving away the plot.
yeah, we'll try to be as safe as we can, but I mean, we can't talk about the things we liked in 2019 without
Shit be
spoiling
happening.
stuff.
Shit gets said, can't unsay it.
Yeah. Anyway,
Listen
so
at your
know
own
that
risk.
going in. But anyways, I'll try not to spoil you since you're actually a part of the conversation. But you've saw the episode where he's fighting. There's a demon that kind of has multiple personalities and he splits. Yeah. At any rate, that character was awesome because one of the versions of him was real angry and jittery, and his freaking lower jaw would just like shuffle back and forth really fast, and it was super creepy. Like the way they animated it was awesome, and it was like that was one of the demon designs that I saw, and I was just like, this show is so good. I love it. Every little detail about it is great.
The designs are creepy, and that I can't watch it with my kids around because I don't want to creep them out.
Yeah,
Which is why it's taking me so long to watch it.
Never mind the excessive violence.
Right, yeah. Well, that too. But there's reasons I can't watch it just freely.
I wouldn't call it excessive, but it's when there is violence, it's pretty brutal.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's very bloody.
That's what's so crazy about anime versus like American cartoons, because there's so much levity in that show and there's so many like wholesome moments, and Tanjiro, the main character, is like one of the most wholesome characters ever. He's just so pure and upright, and like never does anything wrong and just makes everybody feel good that he's around. So you have that feeling, and then demons getting their heads and limbs cut off, and like
Yeah.
people getting
And people getting
Bitten.
effed up too.
and eaten. And like in the first episode, the super bait and switch feels where they're like, this is the most perfect happy family living out in the woods, just making it. All of their brothers and sisters look up to the eldest brother and love him so much. You just know they're all just gonna die horribly.
Oh, and they die very horribly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
when I
it
watched it, I was like,
changes the
I don't
tone.
know if I'm gonna enjoy this. I was like, I don't know if I can just do a constant downer show, because they just went like they dove in head first. It was like, yeah, we got to get this over with. But I was just
Right.
like, man, I was not ready for the loss of the entire family.
Yeah, they did it. They did it a little harder than they needed to. It was kind of manipulative. But, I mean, the show looks so good. That's what it catches you on. It's just the fact that it's so pretty. And then the premise is cool. I mean, you know, not feudal Japan, but a couple of eras after feudal Japan, and demons and it looks pretty. There's dudes with powers and swords. It's like, you're not going to watch this.
Yeah, when Tanjiro does his water sword attack things,
Yeah.
that shit is just mwah, beautiful,
It's so good.
bellissimo.
Yeah, it's like I think AJ, you said it. It's when I was telling people to watch that show, I told them this is the first show in a long time that pretty much reminds me of all of the reasons I like anime. It hits everything. It's great.
Yeah,
There's
absolutely.
a whole lot I want to say about the show, but I'll save it for the big. We're gonna have a whole conversation dedicated to Demon Slayer once we all finish it.
Yes.
Once we all finish it, which will be soon, hopefully.
But
Got some time.
big highlight for 2019. I think just about everyone in the anime community agrees
Yeah.
with that assessment. It's a came out of nowhere. I've read what I've read. It was like a lesser known. It was just an alright manga, and then they just made a really dope show out of it. So good job, guys.
Yep. Affordable. An awesome
yeah.
studio. Always putting out good stuff.
I always read it as UFO table
I mean, that's
or
how it's spelled.
UFO table, but I don't know. Neither one of those is likely to be correct.
Yeah. So what
Yeah,
else
that-
was a highlight this year that you liked, AJ?
I would say Mandalorian.
I'm gonna
Was a
agree with
highlight.
that.
Okay.
It's not perfect,
It's not perfect,
but
but it
it's-
hits some marks that Star Wars has not hit in a long time.
yeah, it scratches some itches, and it gives hope for the future of the Star Wars universe. Of all, I mean, you could tell any kind of story you want, and there is tons of material to mine. Like, I don't know how much the Mandalorians have been fleshed out over novels and all that stuff. But they-
Probably very exhaustively. I would.
yeah,
only
yeah.
guess.
But they do a really good job of making you interested in it. The one line where he says, he tries to tell the Mandalorian he's gonna have to get rid of his guns, and he says, "I'm a Mandalorian. Guns are part of my religion." And the way he
There's-
said that, I was just like, "That's amazing."
I think there's a lot of Mandalorian. I didn't watch all the Clone Wars, like the cartoon series, and I think a lot of the books are pretty much non-canon at this point. So I don't know how
Right.
much official Mandalorian information there is
Right.
anymore.
Well, it was aside from it was a very smart, if not, if also cruel decision to just say, "Oh, only the films are canon," because now they can just rewrite everything however the hell they want.
Right, and I think that's
And-
part of the reason with this baby Yoda or the child, whatever you want to call him, like nobody really knows a whole lot about what the race is capable of. So they call him
Yeah.
Baby Yoda because he doesn't have a name and he looks like Yoda. But I mean, there is another species. I think in the original, the 1 through 3 movies, there's a Yoda-like character who's not Yoda, but he's a Jedi and everything. So obviously there's other characters of that species in existence, but nobody knows anything about them. I think even in like the extended universe, there's not a lot of information about him. So it's interesting to see how they play that out. I'm hoping that they don't do something that is just silly, like, oh, this is Yoda because Yoda sells toys and we want him to be back, because that would be stupid.
Yeah, I feel like they're gonna, because it takes place like after one of the original trilogies, like between.
I think it's after Return of the Jedi.
Okay, so like I don't know, it could be Yoda's son or something, which is probably what it'll end up being, and that's why he's like for. And that's my next question is like, are all members of this race like attuned to the Force? Do they all have Force powers, or is it because of like he's related to Yoda, or is it just coincidence that?
That's the questions that they hopefully will answer. I doubt they'll do it this season. They'll probably extend it to 3, 4, 5 seasons.
Yeah.
Before you get all that information, but
right.
I and like you said, like the show's not perfect. Like there's some slow parts. There's a lot of episodes that really you don't really need because it doesn't push the continuing story forward. But they're fun. Like the one episode where they're kind of on this like farmland planet, and they're going up against an ATST. Is it AT-AT? I always get it mixed up. It's the two-legged one.
I think it's ST.
ATPT, I thought it was called.
No, not at all. It's definitely not that. But like in the movies, you see those things as like, oh yeah, you get a couple blasts from a ship and that thing's down. But they have one that's going up against like a bunch of farmers. Like that changes the perspective of what these things are capable of, because it's very intimidating to see this thing like at night light up and then face off against, a bunch of people with pitchforks and crappy blasters. It makes it a little more kind of changes the perspective of those things. So, in a big battle, they're
a good use
weak,
of
but...
a good use of the, what do you call it? It's not a character, but just the thing that exists.
Yeah, the canonized machinery, so to speak.
There's got to be a better term for that, but
nope, that's the only term.
Canonization.
So yeah, I think the show, again, not perfect. I think it's doing good things for the Star Wars universe. It's doing more than I think the movies are.
Yeah, I think it's a net positive, and I think it's doing well. It's being well received, so like it's gonna motivate them to do more things like this, which is a net gain.
Yeah, I think the only negative thing that I've heard about Mandalorian, I haven't watched any of it, so I've just been kind of on the sidelines. But the only negative I've heard is that some people don't like the Monster of the Week format. And to me, that's more of a preference thing, not really an actual quality thing.
Yeah.
Because, there are plenty of great shows that are episodic. Cowboy Bebop being a prime example.
Right.
Really anything that Shinichiro Watanabe does. I think he has a few sort of more serial drama things, but most of his stuff was episodic. And people love him, and people love his work. And there are other examples, too. So, I don't think that that's a huge mark against it. At least for me, it wouldn't be. It's like a show can be good without necessarily following that. Everything doesn't have to be Breaking Bad, where the episode ends and you're like, oh, crap.
It's still a continuous story. It's just that the parts that they tell are just contained.
Right. There's an overarching story to follow. I think so. The most recent episode, which I think is episode 7, did push that story forward. So, it's enough of like Monster of the Week, and then push the story forward. So just as people started complaining about it, they pushed the story forward and kept going. And now it keeps people coming back.
I don't know. I feel like even the stuff that doesn't push the story forward necessarily, like you're still getting to know the characters more. Like you're learning more about the Mandalorian and
right. Yeah, exactly. He's got quirks and he's not a perfect fighter. Like he gets into enough troublesome situations when he's fighting dudes that like he's almost kind of clumsy in that way when he's fighting, but ultimately he comes out ahead. But
yeah, he feels like less of a badass every episode.
Right, but
me,
he always kind of thinks of a way to kind of work his way out. Now there's too many shows and movies that like, oh, this dude's a badass and does everything right all the time.
Yeah.
Like seeing this dude kind of fumble his way through these fights makes him more like realistic in some ways. and more like relatable and likable.
Is his voice cool?
Yeah,
His voice is amazing. I could listen to him talk for hours.
Yeah, that's I would think that that would be a requirement. Like,
Yeah, when you have no face.
yeah. And I mean, Star Wars is so reliant on sound anyway that
Yeah.
it's like you got to get the dude with the right voice. I mean, come on, this is
Yeah.
the franchise of Darth Vader.
Just the way that he said that one line, though, like I keep playing it back to myself in my head because it was just so pleasing when he said, like, guns are part of my religion. Like, the way he emphasized the word religion was just so perfect.
That's
and I just
awesome.
keep thinking of that line and smiling. But
Well, cool, man. It sounds like 2019 might be a big old win for Star Wars. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
I think something else came out, but whatever about that, Mandalorian's pretty dope, it seems like.
yeah, they did something else this year, but whatever.
I don't know.
Yeah, this is neither here nor there.
I wanted to go back to we mentioned Mob earlier. I feel like we have to talk about Mob because that was another really good follow up.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Marcus. We've been talking a lot about Mandalorian. It's your turn to talk about Mob.
Well, it's funny. Mob will be its own episode as well, but it won't be by itself. I feel like we'll couple it with another thing called One Punch Man, which will be the first low of the year that I'll bring up. But I remember, I think it was announced that One Punch Man was going to have a second season before Mob was going to have a second season. And I remember a lot of people were excited about that. And I really wasn't because season 1 of One Punch Man was pretty much perfect. And I was like, yeah, I mean, sure, I would like more of One Punch Man, but it's such a different show that if it only was ever 12 episodes, I think that would be fine. And I remember saying in the same conversation, what I really want is season 2 of Mob because that show tells more of a story of a character, more so than One Punch Man does. One Punch Man is sort of just a parody of anime and superheroes and just ideas and genres, where Mob is actually trying to tell a story and has like all these really expressive themes in it about self and mainly just that. But yeah, there's a little bit of friendship. There's a little bit of, it's a bunch of people trying to figure out who they are in the world. We had a conversation before, and we can go into depth about it when we talk about Mob more in another episode. But the whole show really is about identity. And I love that because I'm a really reflective person, and I always relate to characters that are a little bit of the underdog, a little bit emo and broody, and that's Mob all the way. But they gave them super ridiculous psychic powers, which is just like cathartic central for me. So that was awesome. So anyway, I feel like the second season picked up perfectly because first season establishes who he is and him coming to terms with dealing with his powers, and then the second season really focuses on him coming into his own. It seemed like such a natural progression for the show to go into that it just made me happy.
It was really satisfying to watch him kind of like stand up to Reagan and like stand up to just have more of a backbone instead of just being this kind of go along to get along kind of kid. Like questioning mainly like the role that Reagan played in his life and like questioning himself. So they did a really good job of like they set everything up with season 1, and then in season 2 he's coming into getting more confident and
and Reagan himself, like just as a character, has developed a lot from season 1 to season 2. And just as the episodes go on, and even beginning of season 2 to end of season 2, Reagan is almost a different character. Like he's more relatable, and he's less of just a sleazy business guy, and he's more of an actual mentor to a lot of the characters, which is interesting.
He was a mentor at the end of season 1, though. That was kind of that was like his moment,
right?
When
season 2 is like an extension of that moment at the end of season 1 for him. For his character.
Yeah, they build on it.
Which is perfect. That's why the second season is such a great follow-up. It does everything that a second season should do. gives you a new mini arc within each character's overarching arc. If I can use the word arch and arc in the same sentence.
Overarching arch.
You just did.
That is
Yeah.
not allowed.
And then
You broke one of the rules
and
of
then
English.
it does the perfect thing that a follow-up should do as well, is like keeps all the humor. It feels the same as far as the humor goes. The style's the same. Gives you that great action that the first season is known for. Just perfect. And then the opening. I'm not even going to talk about it. I'm just going to say
Yeah.
to season 2 opening.
It's
so
amazing.
so
Mother's Basement does a really thorough and informative breakdown of what that beginning is and what it means. So you should go check that out.
Yeah, it kind of puts
it's-
all other openings to shame when you.
It really does.
When you
No,
think
it's
about all
the-
the work that
it
went
is-
into that.
Yeah, it is the king until further notice, and I don't know what could possibly dethrone it. But best anime opening ever for my money.
Mob Psycho season 3 will top it.
I don't know.
I mean, I don't want to hope, man.
Yeah, no, you can't. It's so dangerous to like get hyped about anything anymore.
It is, it really.
And
is.
that was honest, like, season 2. I was like, I felt it. I was nervous. Like I was like, I want.
Well,
this
it was
to
hot
be
off
good.
of One Punch Man season 2, which
Yeah, that too. So it was like, oh, big disappointment, but like, oh,
no,
keeping
Mob
hope
was
alive.
first.
was it?
Yeah, Mob aired in January. One Punch Man didn't air until April.
Is that for real?
Yeah,
I could have sworn. Okay, well, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Did they overlap at all?
no,
No, they
One
wouldn't
Punch
have.
started
They
almost
wouldn't have.
the week after Mob finished this last episode.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I'm
Well,
fairly
anyway.
certain.
I don't remember
Let's-
things, but it was like anything new. You're gonna be like, oh, it's not the same, or it's new. It feels different. I don't know how I feel about that, but like it has to. It's new. It has to start somewhere.
Yeah,
But the first episode, I was like, oh, that's fine. The second episode made me nervous because they introduced the other psychic guy with like the beads. I forget his
Yeah.
name, and it just felt like they were trying to like squeeze him in, and he didn't end up playing like a huge role in the season. But I was like, oh, who are these new guys? Like, what's going on here? There's another psychic business type guy, kind of a shyster. Like, I don't know. I didn't like it, but that passed, and I got over it, and then it was a great season.
So before we move on to lows, let's do some honorable mentions real quick. Endgame. I mean, Endgame was kind of, I wouldn't say it's the perfect ending, but it was a serviceable ending.
I think
And
they did what they had to do it justice. There was a lot of fan service, like let's have a slow moving shot that goes from each character to character, and they did that or something like it like 3 different times. And like I understand that is the level of like that you need for something like this. I think it's appropriate, but I'm also like I'm expecting it and I'm not that excited about it. I'm like, let's get to the meat and potatoes, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you need a big send off. You need, like, that's what the fans needed.
You have to give
that.
each character their time on screen.
Right.
just
Well,
to-
like at
to-
the end, they go from one at a time between their faces, and then at the credits, they have everybody's, individually their character and the actor's name and lights, and they do a little, punch kick combo.
I like that. I thought it was cool.
It was fine, like, yeah, but it was just like that's like a built-in, like, here's 30 minutes that is already like dedicated to the send-off and the goodbye and the.
Well, I mean, yeah, you don't.
It's like it was built in, or they.
If
you
they
know,
hadn't
had
done
to.
it, you probably wouldn't have missed it. But the fact that they did do it, I don't think took away from the experience. I think it was here's all the characters. This is, we've been building up for this for 10 years, and now
right.
we finally made it.
No, I understand why they did it, and I agree that they, I agree with them doing it. It just wasn't for me. I'm not that invested. but I
Yeah.
know millions of people are. So
I'm
like, that's
on
fine.
the exact opposite end of the spectrum. Like, I wouldn't call that ending serviceable. I loved it. Perfect isn't a word I want to use because I think that the whole Marvel endeavor is too big to be perfect. I don't think that there's any way that it can be perfect.
Right.
But I think that it was as good as it possibly could have been. And I
mean,
think
so much changed from the first Iron Man movie, even like licensing wise.
right.
Like once you get Spider-Man in, it's like, oh, we gotta fit Spider-Man in, and they break the timeline a little bit. But step back. Do you really care? No, you just want to see Spider-Man fighting with all the Avengers.
Well,
Yeah,
the reason you don't care is because they handled everything that they did correctly so well that it doesn't matter. Like
Right.
if you make a good product or piece of art, I won't necessarily call the Marvel movies art, but I think a lot of artists helped to create them. That's why they were good. But if you create something that the benefits of it are so pleasing that you're willing to forgive any like downfalls or faults that are easily seen or apparent. Like, it's kind of the opposite. If a movie's not good, then you go into nitpicking about everything that's wrong with it because there's no forgiveness there because they didn't even make a good movie for you. There's nothing to enjoy. So why not talk about how the fact that Superman and Batman stopped fighting because their mothers are both named Martha. like you're going to get down to that level of something shitty. But everything about the Marvel characters are so great, and like the writing is really witty. All of the actors have so much charisma. The directing, all of it is so great. And so for me, I loved all of the fan service and stuff so much because it was a celebration of this thing that Marvel managed to do that had never been done before. And like, I know that we've talked in other conversations about like the whole Star Wars thing and how Star Wars is more of an event now and people go see it just because of the name more so than actually liking the movies. Well, like I was checked out of that because I stopped being invested, but Marvel managed to keep me invested for 10 years. And even when mediocre movies came out, they always had a better movie come after that to get me reinvested. So Endgame to me was like a big celebration of that. It had a good story with good characters and a bunch of fan service that it earned. And I think that's, for me, that's what was important, is that it earned that. So like I'm not easy to pander to because I'm a fucking elitist and my nose is like in the clouds. Like I'm so like hoity-toity.
You're a real piece of shit. Marcus.
Yeah, I'm so picky with my media and my taste and stuff. But like, if you earn that from me, I'll be a fanboy all day. And so that's why I just fanboyed over Endgame because I thought they just did it. They did it, and they deserved my attention for it. And
the only thing that I think they failed at was to keep me invested going forward.
That is true. I don't give a fuck about anything after Endgame.
I mean,
so
they-
Endgame ended, and it was like, oh yeah, the two main characters that honestly I love in every movie, Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans, like always good. They don't have a single bad scene. I don't feel like throughout all the movies, and they're gone. Which okay, that's fine. You still got Thor. I might come back for Guardians of the Galaxy 3 if Thor is in it.
Only if Thor's in it. Only if Thor's in it.
But like, I don't give a fuck about Captain Marvel. I don't give a fuck about Ant-Man. I don't give a fuck. Like I did until Endgame.
I mean, Spider-Man.
Like, okay, that plot is wrapped up.
Spider-Man's gonna be a thing.
Spider-Man is still good. I'll still see Spider-Man, but I don't like if he ties into MCU. Like, don't get me wrong. I'll probably see all the movies, but like, there's no way you can get the investment that I had for Endgame.
No.
Again,
They earned it.
I don't think
they earned it. They'll have to re-earn
I don't think
it. And it's going to
anybody
be hard
respects that.
because they've already pulled out all of the tricks out of the hat.
right.
I mean, there's other. I mean, Thanos was a big bad, but they got other ones, man.
They do. It's
It's
just going to
endless.
take a bit of work to get me interested in going back.
Well,
to
I
those
mean, they
movies.
got to start like they're back to Iron Man 1, man. Like, let's build the fucking pyramids all over again.
Yeah, that's what you're going to have to do.
For
And
another
that's-
generation.
That's what's unfortunate is that as much of a fanboy I became of those movies, like and Endgame being the perfect dismount, that's exactly what it felt like to me. It felt like, sweet, let's stop it and let's remember this decade of fucking awesome movies that happened that we can always go back to again and again and again.
Something that added to like that same feeling that I described of like this is what they I don't know. The thing I didn't like about it is how like they retreaded.
What? That was the best part. The time travel piece?
Yeah, see, that's the fan service stuff. That you're probably
that's the
not
fan
That was
service. It's
awesome.
like,
the way
let's-
they integrated that.
Yeah,
It was a
I
movie
loved
about remembering all the movies that they made that led up to this movie. Like that I didn't really dig.
I don't care. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, to me,
was
I was
fine.
fine with it because they weaved it into the story in a way that made it not necessary, but made it work. It didn't feel like they were doing an anime flashback where it's like, shit, we have an order for like 23 episodes, and we have 5 episodes that we don't know what we're going to do yet. So we're going to make the halfway point of this season is going to be a flashback just for the sake of flashing back. Like, the movie didn't do that. They managed to come up with a storyline that required them to visit all of their respective timelines.
And they gave purpose to Thor 2, The Dark World, which is a terrible movie.
I'll say it's a forgettable movie. There's been worse. It's not my least favorite Marvel movie.
I thought about watching it again the other night, but I didn't.
I do need to watch it again, but it was, at the time, it was like, okay, it's Thor. Like, Thor 1 was good enough. I don't think anyone had any expectations, and I think it exceeded that, which, obviously not hard to do. But Thor 2 was, like, more of Thor 1 in a way, and, like, there's a lot of cool set pieces and a lot of cool characters, but, like, it just kind of fell flat. Like, they made the right move by making Ragnarok more silly than serious.
Yeah.
All right, let's not drag this out too much longer because we got to hit all the lows.
I liked Infinity War way better, but that's
Fair.
it. That's it.
And Infinity War is equally good.
I like Endgame better, but not by much.
I'll fight you.
That's fine.
Super fight, dude. Stay tuned for part 2 of the first annual Broke Otaku
Retrospecticus
2019 edition. In the meantime, follow us on Twitter at Broke Otaku and Broke Otaku Cast.